Hello and welcome back to the big stage, brought to you by Betting Expert, where in today's show we're going to be dissecting how England made history by beating Germany, previewing their clash with Ukraine in the quarterfinals and running through the rest of the quarterfinal clashes, as well as getting a rant from our broadcaster Rory Jennings. I just want to bring in our guests for today's show. Once again, I'm joined by Wayne Bridge and Rory, as mentioned. Wayne, how was it watching England make history against Germany?
Oh, it's buzzing. Yeah, great. For me, just down the pub with my dad. It was a great atmosphere, and it was funny being surrounded by people in the pub, slating England for quite a lot of the game until we went one up.
That's it. It's easy from the sidelines, right?
Yeah, it was some of the sticks some of the players were getting was definitely unwarranted.
And Rory, for you, I mean, as a man who's appeared in his youth on EastEnders and Doctor Who as well, I want to ask you about the drama of Euro 2020 so far. What have you made of it so far?
That was an excellent segue there into the drama. It's been brilliant, hasn't it? As a tournament, this has been special. I've been loving it. I think it's been spectacular. Some of the moments, I think, are genuine. Is this too broad to say this? But I think that the day we had with those 2-3-alls, you know, the day France played Switzerland and Croatia, Spain, that is, for me, one of the best days of football I think we've ever had. It was pulsating. I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was unexpected. There was goals galore. It's been a fantastic tournament. And, I mean, for England, this could just be getting started.
It is looking good. It is looking good. So let's get into it, Glads. Let's go kick off with our review of the England against Germany match. So, of course, England ran out 2-0 winners eventually against Germany. Raheem Sterling and Harry Kane with the goals. Now, Wayne, you did back Harry Kane to get on the score sheet. Do you think this is a turning point for him now he's got that goal?
I don't know if it's a turning point. I'm just happy for him. Do you know, he's always been a good player. He was always going to score goals. I think there's probably a little bit of relief for him getting that first goal. So hopefully it will kickstart him to get more. And, you know, I've heard his interview after, and he says about all the noise and people talking about him, and he calls it noise because he knows he's a good player. He knows he's going to score goals. So I just think he's going to carry on. And, you know, you have to take into account he's a dangerous player, and I think teams work very hard to make sure he doesn't get a lot of time or a lot of space. And I don't think, you know, although we played well the other night, he didn't get a lot of chances at the same time. So we've got to create a bit more chances for him to bang some more goals in as well.
But maybe, like you say, I mean, it looked like they focused on Kane, which maybe let Sterling get in a little bit more. Would you say that happened?
I just think it was... I'm just so happy that we're through, I think. You know, really not surprised in Gareth. Well, yeah, I am surprised in Gareth's team because I probably would have had Mount or Foden in there at least. And I think everyone wasn't really happy with the team selection, to be honest. But, you know, you have to give credit to Gareth. He picks a team that suits that game. We'll probably see a totally different lineup, maybe a different formation, a few more players that come in. So you have to take your hat off to him. And what I really loved after the game was the interviews from him and the players where, you know, there was a couple of comments made. They know they've been slated by a few people and they get a bit of stick. Can they do it? Are they capable? Maybe they're not. And you could see it was like they've got this togetherness inside that camp that we will prove people wrong, which I think that was something that Declan said. He loves proving people wrong. I think he said he went out before the game and him and Phillips were like, they don't think we can handle this. We can, and we're going to show them. And I love that.
You touched on Southgate there. Rory, we discussed last week about it being the redemption story for Southgate. Do you think he's got that revenge now over Germany?
Yes, he absolutely has. What he had managed to do there is to steer England to our first ever victory in the knockout stages in 90 minutes in the European competition. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing turn of events as well, because I didn't think it were likely the way that England was setting up. But Gareth Southgate, I personally have given him a lot of stick where I think it has been necessary. But I think it's very important to hold my hands up. He got it spot on because he didn't take the easy option either. The easy option was to pander to the public perception. The public were demanding Grealish. The public were demanding Sancho. He could have easily done that, given them that, and then had it not worked out, ultimately the buck wouldn't have stopped with him because he did what everybody thought he should do. He took a gamble. He did what he believed in. He persevered with Sterling, a decision that is looking better and better every single game. Sterling scoring game after game. Sterling being responsible for the six of the 7 points that England accrued in the group. Gareth Southgate persevered with Sterling. It was his guy. Despite everybody saying it wasn't, he had it in him to stand true to his belief. And I think that both Gareth Southgate and Steve Holland deserve nothing but credit here. It's huge.
And Wayne, just to get your view on Germany as well, I mean, did you think the occasion got to them? Obviously, the crowd were all behind England. What do you make of Germany?
I don't think the occasion got to them. One, I think we're probably a better team at this stage, and we played well. We matched them. I thought the substitution. People talked about Grealish. Did he change the game? I thought maybe we changed our shape a little bit. I thought we were probably a little bit more aggressive in the pressing and getting higher up the field when he came on, and he obviously set up the second goal. But yeah, I just think we played well. I don't think the occasion affected them. I just thought we done really well.
And Rory, would you share that view?
Yeah, I do. I think that we got it spot on. I think it's always a very easy angle, isn't it, to look at Germany and say, were they overawed by the occasion? Was the inclusion of fans detrimental to their aspirations? Was it something like that? Or was it simply England were wicked? And I think at some point, I think as a nation, we're fairly self-deprecating. But occasionally, we've got to go, do you know what? We just slapped them up. We were too good for them. And we deserve credit for that.
They did all right as well. They had a couple of chances. Jordan Pickford made some good saves, and Muller the one that missed.
That moment, wasn't it? The moment when Sterling got dispossessed.
I think then it's our year. It's our year.
Well, that's it. I mean, how fortunate. I mean, like, how important are those bits of luck in tournament football, Wayne?
Oh, it's massive. Do you know what? It's even massive if you play in the league. I think you always notice it when you're at the top of the league. You seem to make your own luck. You seem to get that little bit of luck. You just make it. And I think that is very important. You make your own luck. And it is important in tournament football as well, because it's that that little miss can take you through to the next round.
I mean, if you look at the expected goal stats of the game, it was pretty close. Like England, I think 1.38, Germany 1.33. So it was a case of basically who took their chances. That's what it looked like. But Wayne, let's move on to actually, you touched on it there, who you think should start in the next game against Ukraine, who's kind of earned their spot. What do you make of Saka, for instance?
I loved him, yeah. Loved him for the first game that he played in, and I thought he always looks dangerous. He's quick. I think defenders can be a little bit scared of him. He's not afraid to have a go. I thought he'd done really well in spells. I was surprised to see him come off, to be honest. Fair play to Gareth, though, because it worked. But I would have loved to have seen him come off for maybe Phillips or something and go a bit more attacking. But, fair play, it worked. He stuck to his guns and it works. But I really like him as a player. Will he play? I don't know. I think this precise moment in time, Gareth, whoever you pick, I'm with you. I'm like, whatever you do at the moment is working. If I picked my team, it would probably be more attacking than Gareth's, just because there's so many players that I like in that team.
I think just
with him, it's
go on, Wayne. Yeah.
I think with him as well, it's difficult for him. Like if you look at the people he's left out, Grealish, Foden, Mount, it's like any of them could have played and done well. He's got a massive choice of players to choose from.
You kind of touched on it there with the tactical selection, right? I mean, do you think he got that right compared to Germany's selection, for instance?
Look, he's just matched them. He's gone out. He said, this formation is going to work. We're not going to change. This is how we're going to do it. And I love the way that they've gone about it. Like I said, they know they've come under criticism. And I think back to when I was in the team, and players will read the criticism. It's probably worse now with social media. And it's hard. It's not easy to deal with when you're getting slated like that. So I love the way that the players and the manager have dealt it, and they've gone out. We're going to play this way. We're going to do it our way. And I'm just buzzing they got the result.
And just to round off the kind of reaction to the game, I think, Rory, do you think Grealish has earned a starting spot with his performance off the bench?
Do you know what? I think this is a really interesting one, Joe, and I would be very interested to hear Wayne's thoughts on this, because for me, I don't necessarily think so. I don't think that football's as simple as you put in a good performance from the bench and therefore you start the next game, because football is a game that lasts for 90 minutes, right? You can have a defining, match-winning impact in 1 second. You don't need to simply play your best team. I think that the way Jack Grealish has played, he's contributed massively from the bench. And I don't think it's that wild to say, let him do that again. But I said this recently, and I said that I don't think he should start. I think it's working very well. And I was massively in the minority. I think 95% of people that were talking to me back were saying he has to start. Football's a meritocracy. He's earned the start. He'll be upset if he doesn't start. It's a bad sign to the rest of the squad that if you come on and do so well and then don't start, what kind of indicator is that? But Wayne, obviously you've been around these situations. Do you think coming off the bench is fine? Are players happy to come off the bench, or do you think he needs to start?
I don't think that anyone's happy ever being on the bench. I spent a lot of time on there with England. You want to be out there playing, but again, he comes on, he's fresh legs. You know, everyone's played 60 odd minutes, and he comes on and he's ready to go, and he's lively, and it affects the game. Like I said, he didn't do a lot in the first goal, but he was up there, and it was a couple of yards past, and it's gone out, and we scored. You know, he put a cross in for the goal. I think the thing is with him, like I look at Mount and Foden, and I think if they hadn't as played as much, everyone would be shouting for him. It's just that he probably hasn't had as much game time as them two. It's a really difficult one. And like I said, I would have gone with, and obviously Gareth does what he wants because he's the manager, and this is probably why I'm not England manager. I'd have Mount in midfield instead of Phillips, and I'd probably have had a back four and had Foden, and I would have had Saka in the team. I probably wouldn't have started Grealish. I would have started them three in front of him, but he would definitely be getting on the pitch because he's such a quality player. But he's got such a great selection of players to choose from. And we are going to need everyone, by the way. Like the games now, if we go through the games, I expect us to go through, we are going to need everyone. You know, yellow cards and everything and fatigue. You are definitely going to need everyone.
Well, let's move on then just to talk a bit more in depth about the Ukraine game that's coming up. And there you touched on fresh legs as well. Ukraine obviously went to extra time, scored in the very last second almost against Sweden. I mean, how big a factor will that be in this game, do you think, Wayne?
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, it's to play that amount of minutes, it is massive. That's why, you know, if we ended up going to extra time with them, we're going to need everyone. You do need everyone. And it's definitely going to have affected them, I would say, 100%. Any team that has gone to extra time, was it Declan Rice was cramping up inside the 90 minutes. Like if we had gone to extra time or anything, a lot of players could have been affected. The amount of game time them players have already played this season. So it is going to affect players, definitely.
Now, looking at the betting odds, I mean, Ukraine are 9-1 outsiders to get the win. I mean, do you see like 1 time in 10 that Ukraine could actually beat England, or do you think it's just going to be basically a walkover? Start with you, Rory.
Oh, gosh. I think that England will win. I think England have to win. The one thing that concerns me slightly is England have had the luxury of playing in front of home fans, and you could see the passion in the stadium against Germany. The celebrations, they were the nicest thing I've seen in this tournament so far. Watching sort of overweight middle-aged men roly-poly along a tarpaulin is the stuff dreams are made of, as far as I'm concerned. And I thought that watching those celebrations was genuinely like heartwarming. The worry, I think that, and maybe I'm being overly cautious here, but England, this is the first time that we're playing an away fixture. Also, there should be no England fans in the stadium. I'd never underestimate the resolve of the England football fan, because I think some will go, some will get there. We're very good at doing things like that. But ultimately, the quarantine laws don't allow England fans to be at this game. And playing it in a neutral stadium, I imagine most neutrals naturally favour the underdog. That's my only concern. But England are better than the Ukraine. I watched the Ukraine against Sweden, and I didn't think they were especially impressive. That game was later. so they finished later. They had extra time. It feels very set up for an England win. Barring an Andrei Shevchenko masterclass, I think we're going to be okay.
Now, one thing that could potentially get to England is complacency. So, Wayne, I mean, can you talk about how you would guard against complacency? You don't want players to switch off, right?
I think Gareth would have got on that straight after the game, to be honest. I think he'd be in the changing room. We're going to enjoy this moment, but, it's done. We're thinking about the next game. It's not, no matter who we get, nothing's going to be an easy game in this competition. You look at France going out, the teams that have already gone out. No game is easy. So I think that night in the change room, he would have told the players that. And in training, obviously there's recovery days, but whenever they get to do a little bit of training before this game, something's not sharp. He's got to be on them to make sure they do everything like they would normally do it. And I like to think that the players won't be complacent. It's gone. It was a great evening for the country. You could see it for everyone. But it's now, don't blow it. We cannot go and blow it and go and lose to Ukraine.
Now, I mean, just to touch on the Ukraine, just give them a little bit of bigging up a little bit. Rory, have you spotted anything in Ukraine that we could be afraid of? Or are there any threats in that Ukraine side?
I mean, Yarmolenko's the player that seems to have caught the eye, isn't he? He's the player that everybody is watching, and I think he is the jewel in the crown for them. But no, I don't think so. I mean, before the tournament, it was that Bezjadin. People had highlighted him as being the guy to watch out for. But no, aside from Zinchenko's dangerous, and we know what he can do. Yarmolenko, again, is another player who's looked very lively this tournament. But aside from that, this is a game where England are clear favourites, and I think that we must make the most of this. I think under normal circumstances, the Ukraine wouldn't even be here now. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but they only managed to get 3 points in the group, and those 3 points came against North Macedonia. When it was the old style system, they wouldn't have even got through. They lost to the Netherlands, wasn't it, on the first day? That was a brilliant goals in that game, but ultimately they lost, and then they lost to Austria. So when you look at how they've done in this tournament so far, they've won one game in 90 minutes. I mean, come on. I'm setting myself up here for a massive... I'm going to be clipped up to bits here, aren't I? But they've won one game in 90 minutes.
It's not going to be that easy.
Yeah. Look, I mean, but the other thing is they concede goals as well, don't they? They concede 3 in the first game, 2 in the second game, 1 in the third game, 1 in the fourth game. They concede. So we should be okay.
Are we moving on just to sum up our... Go on, Wayne.
We should be, and you've picked on the players, but it's massively in tournament football. It's a team, how the team does. If you look at France, I think they went out because I think collectively as a team, defensively they played well for about 20 minutes together in the game they played. So it's how Ukraine are going to be as a team. How they're going to set up against England. They're going to play a little bit different. They've got to stop us from playing. I feel, and it's how they go about that. And anything can happen in tournament football, but I do expect us to go through.
Now, I do want to bring up our bet builder prediction that we had for the Germany game. We actually had a near miss with this one. It was a 45-1 shot. We came very close. Rory getting Sterling to score the first goal. I predicted another clean sheet, and Wayne, obviously, he had England to win both halves, but we saved it to the second half to win. So very close. But
Wayne letting the side down.
Exactly.
To be fair, I'm not doing too well, I'll tell you that much. As long as I get the one where I said England win it, I'm happy.
That's it. And maybe you can redeem yourself with this week's bet builder for the Ukraine game. We'll pull it up now. So, yeah, we've got England to win in regular time. England to win to 0, Wayne. Your prediction for this one. Rory got you down as Kane, the first goal scorer. It looks like he is going to be firing. It's a really good opportunity to fire against that Ukraine defence as well. And I'm going for a bet where you have the same number of goals in both halves. So basically, if it's a 2-0 win for England, 4-0, potentially 6-0, if we score the same amount of goals in both halves, then that bet will be a winner, and that is a 12-1 shot. Now, just before we move on to the other games in the quarterfinals, I just want to give a quick shout out to the other home nation that we have been talking about previously on the big stage, Wales. Rory, did they perform as you would have expected?
Yes, they did pretty much exactly what I would expect, which is kind of get through the group and then go out as soon as they come up against some sturdy opposition. That was in the game that they played against Denmark. I mean, they were totally outclassed. And do you know what I think happened that day? We saw the importance of a good manager, because for the first 10 minutes, Wales were running Denmark ragged. Gareth Bale was getting in behind, and for 10 minutes, it looked like it was going to go Wales' way. The second the Denmark manager managed to nullify that, he pushed Andreas Christensen into the middle, went to a back four. Gareth Bale didn't touch the ball again, and the game finished 4-0. It's brilliant management. I think a lot of people will talk about the stars of that game. I mean, Dolberg obviously looked great, but the manager deserves nothing but credit there, like huge amounts of credit, because he actually was responsible for that result, because it could have gone a different way.
And Wayne, any thoughts on Wales just overall?
Look, I thought they showed heart and spirit, but it wasn't. It obviously wasn't enough. I think they would have fancied their chances against Denmark, but like you see, when they changed their shape, it just changed the game completely. And I think the first goal killed them. But they did show heart and spirit. Where they go from here, I don't really know, to be honest. And they talk about Gareth Bale retiring. I see him get asked the question. He stormed off. So, yeah, he wasn't too happy with that question. I don't know what he's going to end up doing.
I think we can move on there. We'll just focus on the quarterfinals now. Let's go to the next game we're going to talk about. Of course, Switzerland against Spain. Two teams involved in that. Yeah, like Rory said, the dramatic day of football, basically. France were knocked out. Wayne, what went wrong for France in that game against Switzerland?
There's been a lot of talk after the game where obviously people aren't happy with each other, which I don't know. I thought they just didn't really defend that well as a team. There was a part in the game, I don't know when it was, but they looked comfortable for 20 minutes, and you think they're going to be done here. And it was, but Xhaka for me was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant. I thought Switzerland done well as well. France for me just didn't really play as well as they could, and probably haven't fulfilled their potential in the Euros at all. And they just haven't done that well as a team.
I mean, I had Mbappe down as player of the tournament. Rory, do you think it's fair to say that he was the flop of the tournament so far?
Yeah, I think he definitely was. I think also history will be very unkind to Mbappe in this tournament, because ultimately it's going to be the penalty miss, isn't it? The penalty miss is what is going to be the highlight of the showreel for Mbappe in this tournament. I thought that they were outgunned by the Swiss. I thought the Swiss wanted it more. They were hungrier. They were more determined. Do you know what we should talk about, though? The goal. I think the goal of the tournament was scored that day. I mean, everybody will talk about Schick's goal, but what about Karim Benzema's first goal? The touch, the way that he he pulled it through. I've no idea how he even did it. I don't know what he did. Kind of pulled it through, nutmegging himself along the way before dinking it over the keeper.
I think
I'd be very surprised if we see a better goal scored than that.
Terrible pass from Mbappe as well, right? It was behind him. Amazing first touch.
Exactly.
Anyway, these two, obviously Switzerland and Spain, conceded 3 in their round of 16 games. I think, Wayne, are you expecting another high-scoring game when these two meet?
I think so, because Spain defensively are just all over the shop. Who knows? When you look at them, you'd probably say, they're all going to be tired. So does that mean that the game's probably going to be a lot slower, so there might not be as many goals? It's hard to call, but I think the amount of time, Switzerland, the game against France, I think could have took a lot out of them, because they worked so hard in that game as a team. That on paper there should be goals, but I think it could be 2 tired teams out there.
Now, it is actually 66-1 for there to be another 3-3 draw. So, I mean, maybe as a neutrals, let's hope for something like that. But Rory, you just want to talk a little bit about Alvaro Morata for Spain? Has he kind of silenced some of the critics, or you still think he's a bit of a liability for Spain?
Oh, no. He's a liability. I mean, he has a very good goal in him, but he is undoubtedly a liability. Trust me. I've been there. I have pledged full love and support for Alvaro Morata. This is a lived experience for me. And don't get me wrong, the way that he pulled that ball down out of the air against Croatia, pulled it down with his right foot, pinged it in with his left, that was a thing of beauty. But for every one of those, there is a decisive miss. There is a misjudged moment. There is a pass into feet when it should go into space. There is a pass to space when it should go into feet. If Alvaro Morata is your hope, you haven't got much hope.
Now, Wayne, you did touch on it there. The other side of Spain's game, obviously, the defence looks like a potential frailty or like a point to exploit for Switzerland. Do you think that is the case? Do you think Switzerland can capitalise on that Spain defence?
They can, definitely. I just think, like I said, with the game time, it's either going to be a really slow game or it's going to be just really exciting and open. There's going to be loads of chances and loads of goals. I do have to say, touching on Morata, I feel for him a little bit because he's had so much stick. And I think being a player, it's so hard to take. It can affect him so much. I was kind of happy for him to get the goal. Although I did want, obviously, Spain to go out because I said they'd be the flop. The way my betting's going at the moment, Spain could end up going through because I said they'd flop. I think it's a difficult game to call with them two.
Well, Spain are the odds-on favourites, but I do myself fancy Switzerland +1 on the Asian handicap. I think that would actually be quite a good bet. It's just shy of even money on that one. So, yeah, look out for the Swiss. I think they could do some damage. I think the Spain defence can be exploited. But I think we're going to move on to the other game on that side of the draw now. We're going to look at Belgium against Italy. Now, obviously, yeah, the winners of this one will play Switzerland or Spain. But, Wayne, what have you made of Italy so far this tournament?
They've been really good. You know, I'm not a massive fan of Mancini, as people know, so I was hoping they would have gone out. But they have gone about everything so well. I'd probably say the last game they probably didn't play as well as the others, but they found a way to win. That they are a very, very good side. And I did predict, obviously, France to go to the final with England. I probably expect Italy, so they've got a blue kit, but England will be winning it. They're very, very well set up. I think Mancini, he always has his team set up in a certain way that I sometimes think you don't have a lot of freedom. But I think also he's got a set of players there that aren't necessarily all come from the top clubs. But they've got a lot of quality still. A lot of quality. And Italians have always been very well set up. They know how to play. They're very intelligent footballers. So it's a tough game to call, but I think they'll have a bit too much, especially if they're talking about De Bruyne and Hazard being out of the game.
Well, that's what I want to get on to next. I mean, obviously, the big doubts around De Bruyne. Hazard, I think, is definitely out. But I mean, how big a miss will they be for you, Rory, do you reckon, for Belgium?
Well, I mean, they are completely irreplaceable, aren't they? They are completely irreplaceable. And I think that this one was a tight contest with those two playing. But I think the omission of these two players, it just puts Italy clear favourites for me. I think the way that Italy have been playing as well, they're playing the way that I think you have to play to win a tournament. They're looking very professional. They're looking very complete. They have that lovely blend, someone like Chiellini at the back and Locatelli in the middle, that youthful exuberance combined with like the nous that comes with age. I do think that Belgium-Italy is being set up to be a bit of a clash of the titans, but I just don't think it will be. And also, I think Roberto Martinez is a manager that has a ceiling, and the ceiling, I don't know, sort of set for a borrower. So I can't see I can't see Roberto Martinez having it in him to steer this team without those players into the next round.
Yeah, I think I'm fully on board there. I think we can all agree Italy probably going to be too strong for Belgium. And obviously the other team that England could play, if England progress, would be between the Czech Republic and Denmark. And I just want to talk about maybe just how Denmark have performed. Wayne, how impressed have you been with them? Obviously, the setback with Christian Eriksen, we've talked about that in the past. But I mean, how did you make of their performance against Wales?
Well, they were obviously great, weren't they? Once they made that change, they were brilliant. And it's just, they've gone about everything so well ever since, that first incident, they've just coped with it. I don't know if it's the emotion of that and everything that has created more of a team spirit, more of a feeling around, and that we're going to do this together. And it would be not that I want it to happen. It would be a great story after that first if they went on to win it. I obviously want England to win it, but the way they are going about it's a great story when you think what's happened early stages, and they are playing really well. Like Rory picked up there, the way that he changed the formation and the way they were playing against Wales was brilliant. To do that straight away and then Gareth Bale have a look in was brilliant. So they obviously know what they're doing, and they're good at taking on that information. To change that straight away in the middle of a game is not always easy.
I think, Rory, just to touch on again,
got some serious players as well, haven't they?
They have indeed.
They've got some serious
players.
Yeah.
Serious players. That Dolberg, I thought it's that fullback, that Mailer.
Do you know what I think? It's for me. Look, there's some great players in this tournament. I think sometimes look back at previous tournaments, you look and go, "Oh, they were brilliant," or "He was brilliant." For me, I don't think there's no real standout players. I just think it's certain teams, and they're probably one of them teams where you just think, do you know what? They've done so well as a team. It's like England. I think Sterling's obviously done really well and scored goals, but I think we're doing collectively well as a team. I don't think there's a real standout. There's obviously Sterling and his goals. There's no players you think he's been brilliant for us, but I think there's just a few players, and collectively it's the team's doing well.
I think I just want to touch on as well, with Rory being the actor amongst us, the narrative of Denmark as well. Would you prefer Denmark to go through for that story, or do you want the Czech Republic to go through on behalf of England, should England progress?
Well, that's the dilemma, because I love the Denmark story. I genuinely do. I think the emotional attachment that the Danes have in this tournament is huge, and I think, like, I remember on that day on the Denmark-Finland game, I remember sort of saying, I'll be giving Denmark a serious cheer every time they score a goal from here on in. But the problem now is that story, I believe in sort of serendipity in football. I remember I knew Chelsea were going to win the European Cup in 2012. I knew it was going to happen. And there's something quite intimidating when I support England in the story of Denmark. I'm slightly worried now that the story is going too far. So actually, I've kind of gone full circle on it. The Czech Republic of England have already proven are very beatable for us. And I think that it will be a far better game for England to face the Czechs. So I actually hope that there's a bit of an upset, but I can't see it, because I really do think that this Danish team, without Eriksen as well. Eriksen at the time when that incident happened, Eriksen was the main man. But you look how they've launched themselves into this tournament, and it's almost like they're not missing him. That Simon Kjær, I'm sorry, I know I'm butchering that name, but is it Kjær? He's been brilliant. Damsgaard's been phenomenal. Kjær's been brilliant. Damsgaard's been great. Dolberg's elite. I mean, the goals that he scored. I mean, I know he scored a lot of goals in that stadium anyway, because he was at Ajax, wasn't he? But you think, and we're not even talking about the ones we know. We're not even talking about the brilliance of Højbjerg or the defensive capabilities of Christensen. So I'm afraid, I don't even like myself for saying this, but now it's whatever's best for England. And I think the Danes saying goodbye is the best thing for England.
I think that's fair enough. You do touch on a point there with Christensen. I think we talked about it before as well, with the goal of the tournament so far. For me, I think that goal from Christensen was just unbelievable. I think you're never really going to expect to see him or a centre-back pop up with something like that.
He's never hit a ball like that. He has never hit a ball like that before in his life. That's it. He will never... The most shocked man in the world that went in was definitely him.
Exactly right. But guys, I want to get your views on the best goal of the tournament so far. So start off with you, Wayne. Any standout goals for you?
Do you know what? And I know I really liked Pogba's goal the other night, and you've touched on a few goals, but I'd probably go with Schick It's not easy, and you've got to have that vision to see him and then be willing to take it, and the way he bent it kind of come out and come back in. For me to score from there, if I was to go and score in the Euros, I'd love to score from that distance. So I think I'd pick that one.
And how about for you, Rory?
Benzema all day long. I think I'd say that with the Schick goal, I reckon 50% of the players playing in this tournament might be able to do that. With the Benzema goal, I reckon he's the only bloke in the whole tournament that has that in him. Like, I don't even know what he did. It was a skill that I've watched back.
Yeah, did you know
about
what?
10
That
times.
wasn't,
I don't know how he did it.
for me, it was a great goal. It was a great goal. To call it a skill was, I don't know, because what is the ball's
Don't be a
behind
hater.
him? No, I'm not a hater. Like it's amazing. I love him as a player. I thought just because he was in the team, they're going all the way. It's behind him, and there's only one thing he can do is stretch out and try and flick it forward, and he's managed to do it, and it did look amazing.
But how much do you know about it? That's it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
He's
not thinking, it's behind, I'm going to do this. It was the
Sneery
pass.
attitude of YouTube.
It was literally not that I could do it, but it was probably the only thing he could do, considering where the pass was.
You two, let me guess. When it was Dennis Bergkamp against Nikos Dabidas, that was an accident as well, wasn't it?
No,
that
to
was a fluke
be
as
fair,
well.
that he meant 100%. But the Benzema one, that is literally all he could do, I think.
All right, then, guys, we're going to move on to our best bets. We're going to sum up our predictions for the round of or the quarterfinals in our next segment for the betting. All right, so we've touched on it already. We have brought up some of our predictions from the last show, but I want to bring up our best bets and our predictions from the last episode of the big stage. So obviously, Harry Kane to score for Wayne was a winner. I got the win as well for Denmark against Wales. And Rory, you were close, perhaps, with Denmark to progress, but Bale to score. So let's talk us through that selection there for Rory. What did you make of it? What was your reaction?
I'm a bit gutted because I felt like I was confident that the Danes would get through. I knew that the Danes were going to be far superior to the Wales team, but I did think that there was going to be a moment for Bale in this tournament. I did think that there was going to be that thing that we remember him by. And it could have happened. There were a couple of moments early in that game, but the tactical masterclass from the Danish manager put an end to my bet, sadly.
And Wayne, were you sweating a bit? It took Harry Kane a long time to get that goal, right?
I would have stopped backing him after this. I think he hadn't scored it. It's like backing Timo again, wasn't it? I think I'm just not helping the fella. I was buzzing for him.
And we'll move on to our best bets for this round as well. So again, England to win in regular time for Wayne. I think that's a pretty safe bet. And I'm going for the clean sheet as well. Now, Rory, you are going for Dolberg to score for Denmark. What stood out for you about him?
I think he's a brilliant goal scorer. I think his drive, his hunger, his confidence, he has that borderline arrogance that I think is a very good thing for a footballer, particularly a centre-forward or a goal scorer. And I just think that he looked so good, so lively against Wales. They really didn't have an answer to him. And I'm so impressed by him. I think he's got everything, and I can't see him not ending up on the score sheet against the Czechs.
Good shout. And I think we'll bring up our bold predictions very quickly. We're not going to spend too much time on them because they were all losers. But yeah, we had one of, I think Rory said there'll be no clean sheets in the whole round, but yeah, we'll skip that. England and Wales to qualify as well from Wayne wasn't great. And I backed Croatia to beat Spain, which was close in the end. I mean, 3-3, but they were all losers. But our bold predictions for this round as well. We asked Wayne, we got Italy to win, which maybe sounds like a bit of a secure bet, but we also have, you want to expand on that a little bit, Wayne? You think Italy will win by 1 or 2?
I've got. Do you know what? I think if the injuries are what they've got, then I'd go Italy to win by 2. I think I would go Italy to win by 2. Obviously, if De Bruyne and everyone's fit and it's a mind game they're playing, I think it's going to be more difficult. But I would go for Italy to win by 2.
And I think, Rory, you're backing Harry Kane to do some damage as well against the Ukraine. I think you're going for Harry Kane to score at least 2 goals, right?
Yeah, I think he's off the mark now. I think, do you know what I was going to say? I was going to go really bold and say Harry Kane to get the golden boot. But that might be for another show. I think it could happen now. I think he's got a feel for it. He's got a feel for it. England have a really kind draw. I think that the goals are going to start flowing.
Well, on that, he is 28-1 to be the top scorer in the whole tournament. So potentially, if he can get a few against Ukraine, then why not? But for my prediction, I'm back in there to be more drama in this round of the Euros. I'm going to go, there's a late goal in all of the matches. So what that means actually depends on the bookmaker and the match you're looking at. But basically, in the game between Switzerland and Spain, that means a goal after the 74th minute. Ukraine-England is after the 73rd, and Czech Republic and also the Belgium game is a goal after the 70th minute. So I just want to get your thoughts, guys, on that. Do you think there will be some late drama in this round at the Euros?
Yes,
I think there will be. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to chuck some more attacking players on, and you'll chase in the game, and games become more open as well. I think you can see that they become more open once someone's conceded.
Great stuff. Well, good luck with your predictions, guys. I know, Wayne, we're going to need to say goodbye to you for now. But absolute pleasure to have you on board once again, and we'll see you next week to review those bets.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
Cheers, Wayne, Tada.
And now we're going to move on to another section. Rory's got a little bit of a topic he wants to get something off his chest. It's Rory's Rant. Now, Rory, on this show, I know you've been a bit back and forth with regards to Gareth Southgate in England, but you've got something on your chest that you want to get off right away. So over to you.
I certainly do, Joe. And it is the fact that Gareth Southgate got it so spot on the other day against Germany. And what that has led to is that people who had got it wrong regarding Southgate, of which I may have done so at certain points I thought Southgate really made some mistakes and I laid into him. But what I've done off the back of that incredible victory against Germany is acknowledge that my criticism was wrong. Gareth Southgate steered England to one of our most defining moments in our country's history in tournament football. It's not an exaggeration to say that. England beating Germany, England knocking Germany out of Euro 2020 cannot be overstated. It is enormous. I'm not talking in hyperbole here. Gareth Southgate has made history and as a result deserves praise. And he deserves the people that have been calling him out, the people that have been saying he isn't up to the job, the people that have been saying that there are far better options out there, generally haven't been contrite enough or had enough about them to say, well done, Gareth, I got it wrong. And I think people really do need to hold their hands up and acknowledge that Gareth Southgate is doing a remarkable job in this tournament. He has overseen England knocking out Germany, not conceding a goal, never looking like we were going to struggle to win games, aside from that Scotland game. And I think overall, this has been a very good tournament. We can see how difficult it is with the likes of Portugal, France, and the Dutch going out the way that they did. And I think it's about time that people started putting a bit of respect on Gareth Southgate's name.
Absolutely great shout. And obviously England now the worthy favourites, right, for Euro 2020 in your view?
Yes, I think. Yes, I think. Look, we should be winning it. We should be winning it. The draw has been so kind. We've had so many good teams that would be more seen as being more favoured than we would be, have been eliminated. The conditions are all set up for this to be England's tournament, but I don't like saying it just yet.
Well, we'll be back soon with another edition of The Big Stage. For now, Rory, absolute pleasure once again. Thanks for being on board, and we'll see you again very soon.
Loved it. Thank you so much, Joe. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye. And now we're going to move on to our community section where we're going to see what's going on bettingexpert.com. So just a reminder, as always, on Betting Expert, we are inviting you to post your own predictions onto the website where you can win cash prizes based on your performance at Euro 2020. I just want to bring up the leaderboard, the current contenders for the top prize of €2,000. Now, it was Debitante who was leading the way for the majority of the times we focused on this, but now Luda Kvota is taking the lead, 24 units, the difference at the top. So, I mean, if you do want to take part yourself, it is going to take some gargantuan effort to really go and challenge those top prizes, but be sure to check out those guys over on the website to see what they're tipping up for the remaining games at Euro 2020. And I also want to highlight a treble from the Betting Expert community as well. This is coming from some of our elite tipsters, guys with thousands of units of profit. They are going for Spain to beat Switzerland in 90 minutes, Italy minus half a goal against Belgium. So of course that's similar to a draw no bet or Italy or the draw. and also Denmark to beat Czech Republic. So there you get around the 7-1 mark, courtesy of our elite tipsters on Betting Expert. Be sure to check out bettingexpert.com as well for news and previews and tips across all the games, not just the Euros. We've got plenty more on the website. But for now, thanks a lot for checking out this edition of The Big Stage. If you do place a bet, as always, please do gamble responsibly, and we'll see you again very soon.